Welcome to The Beam, where curiosity stares conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. Here we bring you the issues that matter, the voices that challenge, and the insights that inspire. I'm Soonest Nathaniel, and now before we get right into today's powerful conversation, let's bring you a spotlight. Stick with us. It promises to be highly engaging. We'll be right back. Don't go away. The federal government has launched a framework to standardize all government websites, making them accessible, user-friendly, and centered on the citizen experience. Tagged the Nigerian Web Design Standards, the initiative falls under the Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovation, and Digital Economy.
We're building the design standards for how government websites are designed. We're extremely fortunate at this time to have a president that is extremely committed to move things forward in the country. But you know, when the level of trust in society is low, it's difficult for people to actually believe and feel all the work that is being done. And we believe that technology is one pathway to being able to help people see what's being done. When you access government platforms, if you have to apply for student loan, you have to apply for TMCT, you need to apply for support from SMEDAN. How do we ensure that the platforms you find yourself on, you can actually trust them that they're government website? How do we ensure that they're seamless? With these standards, we're saying there will be a reliable way of accessing government services and information moving forward. Once the standard is implemented, the next level, of course, will be ensuring that we can enforce, and all agencies will have to adhere to it. And that's the next level of work. But the starting point is creating a standard that everybody can go to.
The project has attracted private sector support, notably from the AIG Imokorede Foundation.
The whole idea of digital technology is that, say for instance, you can go into one website, and from that single website, you should be able to access all 50 ministries that there are in Nigeria. You should be able to access all the products and services that the Nigerian government, has to provide to the public. So how do you go about doing that? 230 million Nigerians, half of us have access to the internet, or almost half of us. Soon, maybe it could be 75%. That way, we can go from this story of low trust, I don't get what I want, to a story of high trust, and what I get, I like.
The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, will oversee implementation across MDAs.
Today we are in a digital age where digital is a lifestyle. Our citizens are online, therefore government needs to meet the citizens online. The only way government can meet citizens online is by providing this kind of channel, the web app channel, so that people can meet the government.
With the NWDS, Nigeria takes a significant step towards building a digital government that is efficient, responsive, and designed around the citizen. Welcome back. On today's episode, we are flipping the script on financial advice, tech solutions, and the promise of progress in a country where hope is a form of currency. We're asking, who is really winning in Nigeria's financial revolution? With me joining me via Zoom is someone who has spent over a decade translating confusion and the confusing economic chaos into personalized strategies for financial freedom. She is a financial educator, an investment expert, and the founder of Money Bestie, an AI-powered app built to help immigrants and underrepresented communities take back control of their financial future. Jenny Okwechi joins me via Zoom. Welcome to The Beam.
Thank you, Celeste. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you. Good to have you around. Let's get right into it. Our first question then will be, why is every Nigerian youth now a financial therapist and still many are broke? What's driving the sudden flood of money mentors when personal bank accounts are telling a different story?
That's a nice question. I think that, like you said, in our country, hope is a currency. And I believe that the rise of financial therapists or influencers amongst Nigerian youth reflects a broader trend. So we're in an era where investing is being democratized online via social media. And it's a niche that gets a lot of traction, if I do say so myself. And that also, coupled with the fact that people think investing is something that is only open to the rich, available to the rich. So we are in an era where we literally can get every information online. So people are tuning in. However, because of how high the cost of living is, and because of how people are suffering and things are going on, there's a difference between actually talking about it and implementing it. So it's one thing to say it, it's one thing to actually have a long-term strategy to implement. And most people actually that also talk about finance online, they do it as well because they find out that it's a niche that gets a lot of traction. So it could be to get that traction to then convert it into money as well. Investing basically involves a lot more than just talking about it. It involves like action steps, actually making a plan towards your goal. So just talking about it will not cut it. So even as a financial educator, there are times when I literally talk about things, I tell people what to do and how to do it. And I myself, I forget about it because I'm doing so many things at the same time. So basically, there is just a gap between sharing knowledge and actually applying it sustainably in our community. And to be fair, it is also the mindset as well. People think that they need huge amounts of money to start. So getting that knowledge is one thing. Talking about it is one thing, but actually knowing how to implement it, that is a problem.
Yeah, it's that's a good place to start off because it sets the basis for which this whole conversation will flow from henceforth. One of the generations we like to speak to on the beam is the Gen Zs, and then there's something about, is it soft life or scam life? So are the Gen Zs turning financial struggle into an aesthetic? Basically does performance, center upon prosperity on social media, those things we see, how do they balance out?
If I do say so myself, I do think the Gen Zs are quite bold. They dare to do the things we could not do. I always say things like, I should be a Gen Z because I kind of like relate to them similarly. So I don't think it's about scam or soft life. I think they want a balance. So we're in an era where they are not able to do the things that their predecessors could do. Like I look at my sister and she can literally not do what I was able to do when I was younger when it comes to finance. There's that huge disparity in our currency and in the loss of value of our currency. So I think for the Gen Zs, they just want basically a balance. So it's not about aesthetics, it's about clinging onto hope and basically what is going to make them happy. And at the same time, most Gen Zs are entrepreneurial savvy, they are technologically savvy. So they've seen firsthand how struggle culture or burnout culture doesn't necessarily equate money in your bank account. So they're opting for more smarter ways to optimize their time and to make money whilst doing so. So at this we're in the age where you don't just make money, via hard work, also smart work as well. So it's not about deception. I think for them it's more about aspiration and trying to create the environment or the type of life they want for themselves. So we can say it's a rebellion, but I think basically they just prioritize themselves, and we can see it across the board, like all of them. It's not just particular to a country, or a region. It's a global phenomenon across the Gen Z, like amongst them.
Yeah. So on the streets, you hear things like, hey, AI, they help poor man. And then one question that needs to be asked you today really is, can AI really, close that gap between the rich and the poor? It's a very huge gap. It's a very vast gap. What are the potentials that AI is able to, close it, especially for the younger people? How can AI do this?
AI has a huge potential to close the gap between the rich and the poor, if I just say so myself. For example, at University, what we do is we use AI to tailor financial advice and financial tools and resources based on what the individual has given to us and based off of the brain of the financial educators that work with the company. So what that means is we have democratized access to investments and to financial education for beginners, like regardless of your income, your level, wherever you are. So those are things that ordinarily in the past, someone that started investing early, when I started investing, there was little to no knowledge about investing online. So you had to figure it out for yourself, or you had to go to the bank, or you had to get a financial advisor or someone that can steer you in the right path. But currently, with the world we live in right now, I don't think anybody really needs to go and pay for a financial advisor. So AI is actually making things easily accessible. So you see people building web apps without knowing how to code. All you need is just by giving AI provide a prompt, basically. So I would say that those that are technologically savvy, that are smart, can literally use AI to change their life, whether it's in their finance, in their career, even something as simple as improving your lifestyle, as asking you for steps or tips on what to do and how to do it. Because again, AI pulls data from multiple sources across the world. So now you literally have insights into other people's lives, or based off of what they've prompted AI, that ordinarily we would not be able to have access to.
All right, let's go to the immigrants. It's one of those places where you really pay attention. And they're saying, hey, these immigrants are the real billion-dollar startups. Are they really are they really the billion-dollar startup? And if they are, why does it feel like nobody's paying them? Or are we just glamorizing what immigration and immigrant resilience is out there in the diaspora? What exactly is going on in that sphere?
I don't know if I'll say we are the billion-dollar startup, but basically there's a little bit of truth element in that. But immigrants, as immigrants, we do not have it easy. I say it takes a lot of courage to literally leave your comfort zone, uproot yourself, and move to a new country to start over. That takes you 10, 20 steps backwards, because you're having to learn new systems, you're having to take whatever gets thrown at you with the hope that eventually your hard work is going to pay off. However, when it comes to immigration, what I find out is whether it's the country that the immigrants are living or where we're immigrating to, there's a lot of untapped potential. So countries lose talent, countries gain talent. However, they do not tap into the potential of that talent, maybe based because they think, okay, whatever education they have doesn't qualify or fit with our country. So yes, basically we arrive in new countries with grit, skills, adaptability, and try to basically succeed. So we build communities. So actually we are started because we have the power, we have economical power to also like make changes in our country, generate jobs and companies, and bootstrap as well. We could bootstrap back home. So imagine what would happen if we understand the power we have. So I think the problem with most immigrants is we literally don't know the power we have, and then we tend to settle. And this comes from the mindset of the grass is greener at the other side, and also because we think like, okay, wherever we are coming from, we have it worse off. So I think it depends on how the community or the government of countries are able to, tap into the untapped potentials that immigrants have, whether it is their finances. We have lots of tech companies like back home. Immigrants could form a community where we fund companies, which also develops our infrastructure. So yes, that is a huge potential that is yet to be tapped by the government and by the immigrant communities themselves.
So how do these immigrants get to tap? I mean, if you're going to show them where to look, what would you say? How do they get into those spaces?
So I think that moving to a new country alone has like a huge disadvantage, because one thing is it takes you away from community. So you have to start building your community from the beginning. And truly, no man's an island. So doing it alone can be a little bit more difficult. So I think that first things first is to know and get into spaces and to have people that pioneer and champion such courses, also with the right support from the government. I think there's something recently the Nigerian government is doing about trying to get talents in AI back home to come to the UK and they go to the US. That is a great start, because we have a huge technician, African Nigerian community in the UK, which I don't even think they know about what the government is doing. So I think awareness, knowing what is feasible to them, knowing that they do not have to settle, and having a government as well that is willing to support and say, okay, you know what, you've gone to these countries, you've learned new things, you've gathered this education, we are willing to support you to come back home and educate, the people back home and help us develop and build new infrastructures, to contribute to the economy. So I think that is one major way. So at the end of the day, it's just support and awareness. That is just the key.
All right, you're watching The Beam, a place where the old is reckoned with, the future is interrogated, and power is held to purpose. Stay with us, we'll be right back. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll get back into this very important conversation. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, I'm in conversation with the financial expert and AI entrepreneur, Jenny Okwechi, and we're just unpacking whether today's financial tech is a ladder or just a shinier cage? And so we'll continue this conversation. The next question for me, Jenny, is the question that everybody continues to ask, especially when it comes to AI. You know, now that AI is replacing, it seems to be replacing jobs and the hustle economy, people are asking, can the poor ever win? Is there a possibility that the poor will still win? It almost feels like it's still the elite who would still use AI eventually, and then there's no room for somebody who's maybe somewhere in the village, somewhere in Kaduna or Zamfara, somewhere on that side. What really is the state of things?
Actually, AI doesn't have to be the end of the road for the poor. I think that it can actually level the playing field if used properly. So, for example, like I said, someone that doesn't know how to code but that has a genius idea, could literally build an app using AI or build a website using AI. So it literally levels the playing field. It's all about the education, like actually spreading the word digital education from the grassroots level, and also being able to implement AI in our countries and use it in various industries like finance, agriculture, and regulating and having good policies with AI. So no, it's not like the people are not going to be left behind. As an entrepreneur and a startup, AI has helped me a lot because I literally need to automate my businesses. So what that means is a role that I probably need to employ someone to fill, I am creating AI agents to do that. I am literally automating it, which in the long run saves me a lot of money and helps me to actually focus on building like the company as in the way I want it to grow. So again, it can be a level playing field. The only difference is that the bigger industries have a lot of capital, resources actually roll AI in the organizations on a huge scale, on the bigger scale. But then that does not mean that literally it's the end of the road for the poor people. No, if for anything, this is actually an opportunity and a chance for them to be better. So for example, someone that has a side hustle as a content writer, content writing will probably take them years, months, or hours, lots of time and hours to do. If they can now shorten that time with AI, right? Again, the goal is to educate people very well and teach them prompt technology, because again, one good thing about AI is if you're able to prompt it properly, it's actually going to give you what you need to thrive and to grow, whether as a person or as a business owner.
So if you were going to say somebody who's just getting started when it comes to AI, where would you ask them to start? Because you just talked about prompt engineering. Is that where you would ask them to start off from?
Well, yeah, there are so many AI tools available right now. So what I always say is start with the simpler one, right? So when it comes to technological platforms, UI differs, so user interface is different. So a UI I can find easier for me might be difficult for someone else. So I always say find what is simpler. Again, thankfully we have social media, which democratizes knowledge across finance and all. You could as a tool to literally research. So simple, basic commands and prompts you can give to AI. Start from there and refine. And I feel like the more one does it, the more you get better at it. Because again, it's not all about garbage in, garbage out. That's not the era of AI. A lot of people tend to use it that way. However, you want to play around the prompt to see what it can do, which is why, for example, if you log into ChatGPT, there are lots of like ideas on the kind of things you can tell it to do for you. So when you're able to play around those prompts and you have an idea and a feel of what it is, then you can literally, start. Then YouTube Academy, like I talk about YouTube a lot, like there's a lot of free resources on YouTube. We have Coursera, we have Google Academy. So people that want to actually learn and acquire knowledge, they're really hungry for knowledge, these are places to start where they can get free resources that literally cost them nothing. And at the same time, doing the research. So when you learn, you implement. As you do that, over time, they get more knowledge and they become better at it.
All right, let's go to where finance meets the poor. And the question would be, is financial literacy just another polite way to blame the poor for being poor, while the real problem is the economy itself? I mean, that would be the question for me.
That is a very interesting and important question. So, well, I would say yes and no. So firstly, to be fair, the economy is bad. The cost of living is high. wages are not increasing while we see the price of items going up, going through the roof every single day. So it's only so much as a salary can stretch basically. So like someone that has been earning 100K when inflation keeps hitting the roof, like how exactly is a salary supposed to stretch? So which is why financial literacy is important. So this is the part where we say focus on what you can control and ignore what you cannot control. So financial literacy is not really a way for us to blame the poor. However, we're saying that if you're saying enough is enough, you want to find out how you can improve your lifestyle. That is where money comes in, because I mean, the most people know about financial literacy is just saving their money, which to be honest is not going to help them build wealth. So financial literacy is important, especially now where there's so many resources available to you. You could literally go on ChatGPT and say, okay, I want to be financially literate. What do I need to know? How can I go about it? And it's literally outlined in steps what you need to do and how you can start. Again, you can now tailor that to suit you. So it is both ways, So because again, if the masses are financially literate and they know where to put their money as well, that also helps the economy to grow faster. If that makes sense. So for example, people here do not know that we have investments you can do back home in foreign currency. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Naira. So because they lack that knowledge, you see, that's why that immigrant economy is untapped, because literally we don't know that we can send our money back home for the governments to use to make investments, to further develop our infrastructures. So we just think, oh, if I'm investing in Nigeria, it has to be Naira, but that is not the case. So this is where financial literacy comes in to bridge the gap. However, it doesn't take away from the fact that the economy right now is actually really terrible. So yes, financial literacy can be a band-aid on a wound, basically. Let's just say the economy is bad, so you have to learn financial literacy to know how to multiply your money, how to grow your money, and how to make the most out of the little money that you earn. So it's kind of like a band-aid that helps you soothe your wound already, which is the bad economy.
Yeah, well said. Perhaps at the heart of this discussion will be financial freedom, right? And then the question then is, what really does an economic freedom look like, real economic freedom? What does it look like in a country like ours, where it seems like the line between the hustle and survival is vanishing every day? Some things are coming up, yes, but it's not enough for the number of people we have in the nation today. And so what will financial freedom, what will real economic freedom look like, from your own perspective?
Real economic and financial freedom, I feel like what it look like is when the gap between the poor and the rich is closed massively to an extent. There's a huge wide margin between the rich and the poor currently. And yeah, so I don't think we can say that our economy is thriving if it's like that, or like there's no financial freedom. Because again, I'll use America as an example. We see Trump creating laws saying, okay, we have to make investments important. So I'm creating a law that says that once a child is born, I'm contributing XYZ amount of money to them so they can start building wealth when they are young. He is pro crypto, he's pro AI, he's pro. So these are the things that literally attract talents to countries and make a country develop faster, which again is why we can see the stock market in America is like one of the biggest and the stock market in the world. And that's why everybody buys American stocks, because there's a lot of disposable income, that knowledge is there. So economic freedom for us starts with, again, knowledge. Grassroots level knowledge, putting infrastructures in place, putting communities and hubs in place we have the numbers, we have the youth. I feel like that's our greatest strength. We have the youth, we have the resources, we have the talents. Nigerians are one of the most brilliant people in the world. We need to take advantage of that and put these talents in places where they can thrive and put us on the world map, literally, in a very, very positive way. And I think that another thing that affects our economy as well, development and financial development, is also the fact that we have bad PR. We have really bad PR. And I say this as someone that was a virtual assistant back home. I mean, I was able to make good money and all, but there was always a hurdle I had to face. And prior to that, I used to teach English to Asian students, and they woke up one day and said, you know what, we don't consider Nigeria an English-speaking country. So these are some of the hurdles we have to climb as people living in Africa, as Nigerians, people living in Nigeria. And with that being said, youth is very difficult for the youth to grow, because don't forget that when we are able to have these resources, even from our the money comes in because then these foreign companies pay us the money in FX, which we bring into our country, which is then used to develop our country. So I think these are like some of the key factors that affects that.
All right, Jenny Okwechi, thank you for unpacking the hard truths and for your work in equipping the voiceless with the tools that make sense and makes money. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, that's the much we can take on the beam today. We'll be leaving you with our top 5 videos of the week. I am Soonest Nathaniel, and as always, we urge you to stay curious, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep beaming your light where it matters the most. May this nation continue to rise and flourish. Bye for now. The news within the past week was all about the late President Muhammadu Buhari. So we begin this week's countdown at number 5 with a report on the paperwork for the release of Buhari's body. Coming forth on our list, Obasanjo Diko orders pay tribute to Buhari. Staying on the demise of the late president, we see in third place a distraught Fatima Buhari mourning her father in Daura. In second place, we see the remains of the late President Buhari arriving Katsina State.
The live pictures of the body of late President Buhari, Muhammadu Buhari, being conveyed down that Nigerian Air Force aircraft.
And coming first on our countdown this week, we have the full clip of former President Muhammadu Buhari being buried in his hometown, Daura. That's it on our countdown today. Join us next week for more.